beyond worlds where destiny is written in the stars. The meteors had fallen, the skies had bled color. But for Kael, the real storm was just beginning. In New Goma, the world hadn't ended, but it hadn't returned to normal either. And beneath the smoke, the fire, the chaos, something inside Kyle refused to stay silent. Eli and Jude finally spotted Naomi and her friend Zara near the roadside, their silhouettes faint in the glow of a flickering streetlight. Dust still clung to their clothes from the chaos that had swept through the town when the meteors fell. Naomi's face carried exhaustion, but when her eyes met theirs, a wave of relief passed between them. Her voice trembled as she spoke, each word heavy with memory. She told them how Kyle had saved her during the abduction, how, in that frantic moment, he had stood his ground, guiding her to safety while danger pressed in from all sides. The four of them stood together in the quiet of the moonlit night, the town around them still buzzing faintly with distant sirens and hurried footsteps. They spoke in hushed tones about the meteors, their voices tense, their words weaving fear and curiosity. None dared say it aloud, but each wondered what changes the smoke had stirred inside them, and whether the world they knew was already gone. Eli, ever the planner, leaned forward, his tone sharp with urgency. If we're going to figure this out, we need somewhere quiet, somewhere no one will think to look. The old radio station at the park. Meet me there. Before Naomi could respond, the low growl of engines broke through the night. A convoy of black SUVs rolled into view, their headlights caught in long, cruel beams across the street. The air thickened with dread. The vehicles slowed, doors swung open, and men in dark uniforms stepped out with military precision. Their presence was cold, efficient, unquestionable. The men motioned for Naomi and Zara without a word. Confusion rippled across the group. Naomi's eyes darted between Eli and Jude, her mouth opening as if to protest. But one of the men placed a firm hand on her shoulder, steering her toward the waiting car. Zara clutched Naomi's hand tightly as they were guided into the SUVs, their worried glances lingering on the boys until the very last second. Engines roared, and just as suddenly as the hut appeared, the convoy pulled away. The black vehicles vanished into the dark horizon, leaving only the stench of exhaust and the hollow echo of tires fading into silence. Eli and Jude stood frozen, the night swallowing their words. A knot of helplessness tightened in their chests. Then Jude clenched his fists, breaking the silence. "We can't stop now," he muttered, his voice low but resolute. Eli met his gaze, determination flashing in his eyes. They exchanged a firm nod. Whatever was happening, whatever the meteors had brought into their lives, it was far from over. And so, together, they pressed on through the darkened streets, the shadows of the ruined town stretching before them, their only thought fixed on finding Kyle before it was too late. The dirt on Kyle's clothes had hardened into a second skin. His school uniform hung in tatters, sleeve torn, dust clinging to every crease. His arm ached faintly, though no bruise remained. When he stumbled from the ravine back onto the cracked road, the weight of it all hit him. The meteors had stopped, but the city hadn't stopped burning. Dark smoke rose from rooftops, sirens wailed, families carried children, pots, televisions, anything they could save. A trotro lay shattered against the pharmacy window, glass sparkling across the street. Kael paused in the chaos, his chest tightened. Naomi, the van, pain, and then nothing, just a blackout. Kael! He turned. Jude and Eli ran toward him, dirty, scraped, alive. Bro, Jude crushed him in a hug. We thought you were dead. Eli pushed up his spent glasses, staring. Where the hell did you go? Kyle shook his head. I, I don't know. The van hit. Then, darkness. The boys exchanged a look. Something about Kyle was different. He looked like himself, spoke like himself, but behind his eyes, something deeper stirred. The boys walked through the wreckage. They walked on together, past Naomi's crushed SUV, past tire tracks that vanished into the bush. She got away, Kyle whispered. She did, Eli answered. She told us everything. You saved her. Kyle's chest tightened. I don't remember. Kyle couldn't remember. Not the rescue, not the meteor, just the silence that followed. Doesn't matter, Jude said, clapping his back. You're a hero. But silence followed them, because the city wasn't the same. Quieter, deeper, changed. They pressed forward through a broken city. Mothers clutched crying children. Shops lay in ruins. And everywhere, colors. Green mist clung to a crumbled wall. Blue haze called from a sewer grate. Red dust swirled in the gutters. Are they eyes? Cal whispered. Jude nodded. Yeah, we saw it. Some changed. Eli added. One boy climbed a wall like nothing. Another man, he just vanished. Cal looked down at his own hands. Normal. Flesh and bone. At least on the outside. At the junction, they made their pact. 3 days, Eli said. Parked by the radio tower. Kyle nodded. And then he walked home. The Aduse gate swung open before Kyle could knock. Kyle! Afia's scream caught the air. Kwame was close behind, face lined with worry. Kyle tried to speak. I'm okay. I fell, blacked out, but I'm okay. Afia cupped his face. No bruises? No bones broken? Kwame's stern voice cracked. Son, you sure you're not hurt? I'm just tired. Inside, the lamps flickered. The TV droned on backup power, showing the world unraveling. Colored meteors across Ghana. Scientists warn the smoke may be altering human physiology. Kojo's voice cut in. The people on TV said the smoke gives you powers. Kwame hushed the row. Enough panic. Kyle sat, exhaustion pulling at him. Afia placed a cool towel on his forehead. Just rest, she whispered. But outside, the world trembled. Governments scrambled. Scientists stammered. Satellites blinked offline. And in the sky, faint colors still pulsed, like the stars themselves were watching. The world hadn't ended, but it hadn't healed either. Airplanes grounded, schools closed, hospitals overflowing with the confused, not the dying. People no longer said meteor storm. They said Starfall. In a small room, Kyle sat on the edge of his bed, blanket draped like a forgotten cape. 3 days ago he should have died. Instead, he lived. But the question remained, what was he now? He brushed a hand over his hair. No bruises, no scars, just a buzzing under his skin. And in the mirror, his eyes were still brown. Normal, almost too normal. But his family wasn't the same. He had seen Afia's hands glow as a pot boiled over in seconds. He had seen Kwame move the broken television without touching it. Even Kojo whispered about powers clutching his toy robot. Only Amma pretended nothing had changed. And Kyle wondered if he was being left behind. The place of their childhood, once filled with laughter, now weighed down by silence. Kael approached slowly. Naomi, Zara, Jude, Eli, each of them changed, each of them watching him. Naomi's shouted, Kael! Zara said, you should have changed. You were there. Kyle forced a weak smile. Still me, still brown eyes. But one by one, they revealed their truths. Jude cracked the earth beneath his feet. Zara called vines from the soil. Eli blurred into motion. Reappearing beside Kyle, Naomi opened her palm, a golden spark glowing like a captured star. Kyle's heart sank. They were gods now, and he was just Kyle. Eli tried to soften the blow. Maybe it hasn't awakened yet, Jude added. Or maybe you've got something we don't understand. But Kyle didn't believe them. The group huddled around Eli's phone, listening to a Swiss scientist on live stream. These meteors, engineered, not natural, perhaps seeded, perhaps targeted. Footage flashed. Men lifting cars, women blooming flowers, children floating in the air. This is not evolution, the scientist declared. This is interference. Zara whispered, they think it's alien. Naomi added, some think it's judgment. Jude grinned. All I know is I can punch through a wall now. Kael stood silent, a ghost in his own story. The wind whispered through the park. The radio tower loomed, and the truth settled in. The future would not be normal, not ever again. Life continued, but shadows lingered. Far away, Scar and his gang gathered in secret. Their leader's crimson eyes glowed as he clenched his fists, remembering their failed attempt months ago. Around him, his crew tested their new powers. Sparks of lightning, bursts of speed, the flicker of teleportation. Scar's voice was low, dangerous. We failed before, but this time, we strike smarter. Naomi will be ours. His gang nodded in the dark, their eyes glowing like predators ready to pounce. The game was far from over, and Kael, still unaware of the storm building around him, had no idea that his true journey was only beginning.